The next step then is to have a look at how these two pieces here join and how these pieces here join. So you wouldn't just have, if I zoom in, you wouldn't just have these poles crossing over like this. They will be attached with a 90-degree elbow join. So that looks something like this. So the idea being that this is slightly bigger than the tubes, and the tubes will push into this and then usually be welded in place. Now for these bits where they join down here, the sort of T section, you'd have a slightly different weld, and that would look something like this. So we're going to recreate these now in our document here. So I'm going to start with these ones, and all we're going to do is going to take a rectangle, and we're going to draw a rectangle that is slightly bigger than the width of the pole, and the length of it is not really that important. It's kind of up to you to decide, but something like that, and you can see what that's doing there. Look, so that's giving you a slightly different thickness. Now if I just move this to one side so I can work with it, I need a 90-degree line going through this. Now the easiest way to do this is to use the line tool as a guide. So if I take my line tool and I wait till it says anchor, if I click and start to drag but then I hold shift, that will mean that I only get 90 degrees. So I can use that and I can find that path there. So you'll see that it will only let me draw 90 degrees. If I then select this piece and I take my direct selection tool, I can grab this anchor point and I can drag it down to where that path is. So you'll say path, look, and you can see now that that is a 90-degree angle. So if I move that out of the way, that line that's left, I can just go ahead and delete. So I've now got my piece there at 90 degrees. Now if you see there, look, if I zoom in a little bit, I've actually not been very accurate with that, and you see that line's not perfectly straight. So if you need to, you can just take your direct selection tool and straighten that out a little bit, and what you should find is that it will snap into place because you've got that Smart Guide turned on, so it should be a little bit easier. And it doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect, but you want it as close as you can get it. So we've got that piece. We now need to take this and we need to go to transform, reflect, and we're going to flip it. If I turn the preview on, vertically, and we're going to press copy, so we've got another one. What I can then do is rotate that 90 degrees. So if I go with the corner, if I hold shift, it will snap to 45-degree increments, which means that I can connect those two together at 90 degrees, which gives me that piece there. If I then take these two pieces and I move them across, you'll see that that gives me that sort of elbow join there. Now what you might want to do is play around with that gradient a little bit, because if it looks too similar to this, it's not going to look right. So you can go onto the gradient and you could use a different one, or if you go to your gradient option here, you can simply reverse the existing gradient by clicking this icon, and that will just swap it around, and you can do the same from both, look, and it will give you the same sort of gradient but with a slightly different look. So decide what you want to do with that and how you want that to connect. Once you've got that looking how you want it, you can select the two pieces together, you can right click and you can group them, and then you can right click, transform, reflect, vertical, press copy, and then we can just drag this across to the other side so that we've got that corner piece as well. So I'm holding space here. If I hold space, that turns my cursor into this little hand which lets me move around my document, so you don't have to use these bars at the bottom. So go ahead and position that where you want it to be, and you've got the two top pieces. So those are the two top pieces. We now need to do these pieces here. Now the easiest way to do that, if we look at this on here, look, it is basically just the pole welded into it. So there's none of these elbow sleeves that we've got on this. So what we're going to do, if we go down to this piece, if we take our ellipse tool and we find the corner here and we hold shift while we go out until we get to the path down here, that gives us a perfect circle. What I can then do is I can just hide this for a minute just so that I can work on it a bit easier. So I'm going to select this piece and object, hide, selection. So I've got this piece here. What I'm then going to do is pull these corners inside of this so that I can't see them. So if I select it, if I take my direct selection tool, I can take these pieces and I can just pull them so that they snap to those anchor points, like that. So that's now, those lines sort of continue around that curve. If I then hold shift and I select the two pieces together, I can go to Pathfinder, so I can go to Window, and open Pathfinder, and I can choose to unite those pieces, which makes them into one. And then I just repeat that process at the other side. So I'm going along, I'm going to hide this piece again, so Object and Hide, Selection, Control and 3 is a shortcut. Take my ellipse tool, find that anchor there, so I'm right in the corner, hold Shift, and then get down so it's in line with that there. Take my direct selection tool, line these up, hold Shift and select them both. My Pathfinder is down here still, so I can unite these together, and it gives me that piece. Now what you might find is that it throws off your gradient, and if it does that, all it's doing is it's matching the gradient to the circle rather than the bar. So if I go back to my gradients now, that is going up and down, I want it left and right. So all I have to do is just change that to 90 degrees, and that will move along for me like normal. So if I then unhide the rest of it, so if I go to Object and Show All, you'll see now that that is fitting, and all I need to do then is just make it a little bit smaller, and what I want ideally is it to be sort of not all the way across. In fact, if I zoom in so you can see it a bit better, what I want is these lines need to be on here, and then this wants to finish probably about halfway. In fact, you've got the little green line there to help you. So about halfway, and it gives you that nice little join point just there. Same on this side. Select it, move it in about halfway, so we get that little join line like that. And if I zoom out now, you'll see that I've now got a frame that looks like it's been connected together rather than just being stuck together.